I am at the San Miguel Chapel in Santa Fe, New Mexico. This is the oldest church building in the United States of America, excluding Puerto Rico. It was a Spanish mission built here in the Spanish capital city of Nuevo Mexico. The original mission on this site was built here shortly after Santa Fe was founded in 1610. During that time, this neighborhood, about half a mile from the central plaza, was inhabited by many natives, and this mission served the population here. The mission was damaged when the Spanish governor and Franciscans were expelled from Santa Fe by the natives in 1640, then again in the Pueblo Revolt of 1680. When Governor Diego de Vargas led the reconquest of New Mexico 12 years later, he found this mission church burned, but repairable. In the early 18th century, the restoration resulted in much of the current building. The bell tower was added in the 1830s. We are now inside the great adobe San Miguel Chapel. It still has a very rustic feel to it, with its thick adobe walls and old Spanish artwork. The wooden reredos altar screen was created in 1798. It is a beautiful altarpiece made by an anonymous artist who went by the name of Laguna Centero, and it has large Solomonic columns and some paintings. The wooden statue in the center is of Saint Michael. The statue is believed to have been made in Mexico in 1709 and has been inside this chapel since 1776. Beneath the altar are the original adobe steps leading up to the sanctuary from the original 1610 church. The chapel was also apparently built on the ruins of an old Indian dwelling from 1300. Its floors have been found just under the old altar steps. That is a painting depicting the Annunciation, believed to have been made by a disciple of the Spanish painter Bartolomé Esteban Murillo. There's an old Spanish crucifix, a rather bloody one. There's some of the original wall plastering on the left, and on the right is the only remaining Station of the Cross of San Miguel Chapel from the 18th century. There is a very antiquated tapestry of the crucifixion. Lining the walls are the current wood-carved Stations of the Cross, which are more recent. They were carved out of pine in 1956. The ceiling is supported by a series of vigas. Some of them date to 1710. There's a painting of Saint Michael the Archangel slaying Satan. Good on him. There are some adobe bricks from 1610, remnants of the original church, and a crucifix from that time period. This is the original copper bell that hung in the bell tower of San Miguel until 1872. You can see that in Spanish it is engraved, Saint Joseph pray for us, August 9th, 1356. That means this bell is over 650 years old, and in the 19th century they claimed that this was the oldest bell in the United States. However, that claim was debunked by an elderly local man who remembered it being cast in Santa Fe in 1856, not 1356. Also, it's stylistically not like 14th century Spanish church bells, which for one thing would have been engraved in Latin with Roman numerals. This particular bell is featured in Will Cather's Death Comes for the Archbishop. In this story, Father Villan tells Santa Fe's Bishop Latour about the bell. The legend goes that this bell was made in the Moorish Wars with gold, silver, and other valuables owned by Catholics in a Spanish city being besieged by the Moors. However, that's probably not true. Still, it's a really cool bell, though not quite as old as they claimed it to be, and people have left offerings all around it. And here's a really cool illustrated map of downtown Santa Fe from 1937. Right next to the oldest church in America just happens to be the oldest house in America, which is also a museum. An alleyway originally designed for borough traffic separates the oldest home and church in the wide-ranging country. Now, it's unknown exactly how old this house is, but this is the supposed site of the Analco Pueblo, so parts of the structure may have been standing before the Spanish arrived. However, it's more likely that this building was built around the same time as San Miguel after 1610. It's officially registered as having been built in 1646. That still makes it at least a 350-year-old Pueblo-style house, and we're gonna head inside. This house has been claimed as the oldest house in the country since the 1870s, and it subsequently became a tourist attraction during that time. It has been opened and shuttered as a museum attraction under a variety of operators over the years, and it still has a very old school tourist trap charm to it. While it is true that some parts of the building may be pre-Columbian, some owners have claimed this to be from the 1200s. That is very likely a farce. While this has been a tourist attraction for a long time, it has always been disputed. The museum historically has operated with little archaeological research. The manager of the house in 1992 said that, quote, "I'm perpetuating the legend. The reason this house may be a Pueblo in origin is because they found some puddled adobe in the walls. That was the style the Puebloans used before the Spanish masonry techniques were introduced." Those are some archaeological remnants from the area, including a bell fragment from San Miguel Chapel. Here is one of the adobe walled rooms filled with antiques and replica furnishings and artifacts of an 18th century working class Santa Fe home. Now, there are no written records of the people who lived here before the mid-19th century, but it could have been lived in by Spaniards, Franciscan fathers, natives, Mexicans, and/or white traders and travelers during the gold rush days. The museum admits this is a faux relic, a century-old coffin holding the symbolic remains of Juan Espinoza, a young Spaniard who was beheaded in the 1600s by two witches who sold him a faulty batch of love potion. The skull and skeleton in there is a plaster model, not a real one like they used to claim, and this has been featured as an exhibit in this house since the early 20th century. In the windowsill is an Apache clay pot from around 1800. It would have been used to cook beans and other foods. Those are some pre-Columbian stone axe heads and some pottery shards. Those are some pottery remnants. On the left is a Pecos glazed Posage red bowl from the 1300s, and on the right is a Santa Cruz polychrome pot from around 1250. This room is restored as a kitchen with a cool adobe fireplace and some antique furnishings. Those are some pre-1500 cast iron axe heads, forged iron nails, a chainmail tunic fragments, and some metal cloth fragments. There's a pre-1500 soldier's leather field jacket and a powder horn. As it is a tourist trap, even though admission into the house is free, they do have a trading post style gift shop, complete with a wood-carved Indian. While the oldest church and house have a history of perpetuating gaffes, they are both historic, legendary places and among the oldest structures in the United States. I'd highly recommend a visit to both if you're visiting this storied city. Please check out my other Santa Fe videos, and thanks for watching.